off because I want to take a second to introduce Joe and TurtleWorks. Um, Joe Waynes is the founder and chief consultant at TurtleWorks. He has years of experience in this, and I am a small business owner. I don't know Veronica, but I know Tom, and I have a very small team. And with the stuff that he's shown me on what my Office 365 subscription can do, I've saved over $1,200 this year just in system costs, leveraging what already exists, not to mention the other stuff that I didn't buy because it was already in here. So I get something out of every single one of Joe's webinars. Usually I selfishly ask a ton of questions towards the end. So I'm very excited that he's going to be talking about scheduling meetings and appointments. A lot of people go ahead and buy Calendly and Acuity and all these other scheduling systems, even having Office 360 or Microsoft 365. I keep myself calling it Office. It's going to take me a long time to break that habit. And his company TurtleWorks helps you leverage the power of your existing subscription, whether it be SharePoint, Power BI, Outlook, OneNote, all of the systems can work together. And Joe is amazingly talented at simplifying that for us regular users like me. So, this presentation is also sponsored by Hayden Technology Solutions. And I know Jamie is going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so
Yep.
there'll be time in the middle of the presentation for Jamie to give us a couple minutes on Hayden Technologies.
Sure.
Let me think if there's anything else we need to touch on. Let's get into this. So I am excited about this. As Kendra mentioned, things like Calendly, if you already have it, or you're already paying for Calendly, I have to ask why when we have these other tools, and often people just don't know. So what I've found over the years when I get into scheduling meetings is I call it the meeting dance, and we'll skip the introduction slide because we know everybody. So I call it the meeting dance. So you want to meet with someone or some group of folks, and can you take care of? Thank you. So you want to meet with someone, so you send them an email and you say, hey, can you meet on Thursday at 2? And they reply back and say, well, I can't do 2, I could do 1. And you say, well, I could do 1 on Wednesday. And then they reply back and say, I can do 2 on Wednesday. And eventually you get to the point where you find something that intersects, or you list out a bunch of times and they still don't work, or whatever. And then you add another person into the mix, or 3 people into the mix, or you add people for multiple businesses into the mix, and the dance just gets longer and longer. And sometimes the dance doesn't end. So Microsoft has some tools that you already own. If you're a Microsoft 365 subscriber, you already own these tools that you can schedule a meeting with one person, or they can schedule a meeting with you, or you can schedule a meeting with multiple people with one email. So it really does give you time back into your week. I'm not lying when I say you'll get a half an hour or an hour back into your week by using these tools, and they're not hard to use. They're not hard to set up. So let's take a quick look at the overview. There's 3 applications that Microsoft provides to you. One is called Bookings. That's free. You already have it. FindTime is another that's free. You already have it. And Scheduler is not free, but it's not very expensive. I'm going to talk about when to use which of these. We'll dive into Bookings. I'll show you how to access it, set it up, and use it. FindTime will do something similar. Scheduler, we'll talk about that. And then I got a resources slide with some links that'll take you to some interesting and useful places. We can talk about next steps. Jamie gets a chance to talk about Hayden and the great things that we do. And then we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. If you have questions, please send your questions in through the chat window now, because Jamie and Kendra, if they think they're appropriate, they're going to chime in with your question and ask me while I'm presenting. Otherwise, they'll save it to the end and consolidate any overlapped questions, and we'll get through that process as well. So let's move on to the next slide. So bookings. Bookings allows other people to see the openings on your calendar so they can schedule a meeting or service. If you're familiar with Calendly, if you've used Calendly before, it's the same thing, except it's the Microsoft version, and it's included at no extra cost with your Microsoft 365 subscription. It works really well when one person needs to schedule something with you and they're not within your company. So they can't see what's on your calendar, sorry, without doing something like bookings. It can be used for meetings, but it also has a feature for scheduling appointments. So I've been trying to figure out the difference between a meeting and an appointment, and I think it boils down to payment. So if you got to pay for something, it's an appointment. If you don't have to pay for it, it's a meeting. So if you're getting a haircut or a dental appointment, that's an appointment because you got to pay for it. You can embed your bookings calendar link in your email signature to make it easier for people to click on. And I think a lot of the folks at Hayden Technology do that. I do it a little differently. There's nothing wrong with either method. This link is going to give us a quick look at what it looks like. So this is a fictitious Microsoft company, Van Arsdale, and there's 3 services that they offer. And you can schedule any one of those 3 services. An introductory consultation, it's 30 minutes, or you could do a family financial planning or retirement planning. Those are an hour and they cost money. So let's take a look at what happens when I click on 30 minutes here. You'll notice that down here, you can choose staff, but there's only Laurel to choose from. Now, if I had chose retirement planning, it's Judy and Eldon that I can schedule with. So you have that kind of control as far as what staff is showing up when you're trying to schedule a meeting, or you want to surface this to potential customers or your real customers. Well, once you make a selection, then the available days and times that that person has, so let me check Judy here, show up, and I can schedule. Judy meets on Saturday. Look at that. So on Monday, Judy's available pretty much all day. So I could select the 27th at 2 p.m. I have to fill in some information here. Go ahead and do that. Some notes. Hey, look forward to the meeting. And I've just done that whole thing. So that's high level overview of how bookings works. Now let me make
So,
sure. Okay,
okay.
go ahead.
No, so I was just gonna say, I was like, we got a question if it integrates with Outlook.
The answer is absolutely yes. So yeah, it syncs with your Outlook calendar. Somebody just replied back. So it when I say up here, it allows other people to see the openings on your calendar. We'll get into more of that on how to configure it, but you get to specify what days and times you want to be available for people to schedule your meetings. Like I have a no meetings Friday policy. So, um, so nobody, when they go to my bookings, can ever schedule anything on a Friday. And I've just set it up that way. Even though I don't have a meeting in the morning, I have a meeting with myself to work on the business. So I don't need to be interrupted by other meetings. Um, and for the rest of the week, like Monday through Thursday, I schedule some times that I've got other activities, recurring meetings or whatever. Um, and bookings doesn't show those. Plus, within the openings that you make available, if there is a meeting that gets scheduled in that slot no longer becomes available for somebody to schedule as well. So it's intelligent enough to take advantage of the schedule you set for bookings, as well as it looks at your Outlook calendar and says, well, she's already got a meeting scheduled from 2 to 4, so we're not going to make those times available for anybody to schedule meetings. So what I want to do now is I want to actually send show you how it works, really. So I'm going to send a meeting, an email to Kendra, and this is how I use it. I don't put it in my signature, but again, there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. Let's meet next week. I'm not sure you'll find anything on my calendar this week, Kendra, so that's why I'm saying next week or the next. And
Might
then
not find anything that works, but we'll try.
yeah, and then I have some templates that I've created for my Outlook, and one of those is just a link to my calendar. So, and I always try to word it, please find something that works for you, because that's really the point. It's not that you're trying to get them to schedule meetings for you. It's that you're trying to make it easy for them to schedule a meeting for themselves. And that's what I'm doing here. So I'm going to send this over to Kendra, and then Kendra is actually going to share her screen and give you all a chance to see what she sees and how it works. And then I'll show you some back and forth or the emails that I get, and we'll see an appointment on my calendar. So I cannot hear you, Kendra. You're muted.
It helps when you hit unmute. So I'm going to go ahead and I clicked on the link in the email
Can
and
you
I'm
show
going to,
your screen? There
I
we
think
go.
I am I? Okay.
You are now, yes.
All right. So I think their brief call might have the best opportunity, but he's got several different things. We got a half-hour web meeting, 1-hour web meeting, got all these different options. So we can just say we're going to do a brief call for 15 minutes. And it looks like we can do September 30th potentially. And so I can pick Joe specifically. Again, anybody from the drop down, we could say 10:30. If that works for me. Forgot my country code. And then I can actually sign up to receive text message notifications, but I don't think I need that. And then I can give additional information as to what my company is.
Mhm. So some of these prompts that she's filling out, we get to control what appears. We can also create some custom questions and make them required or not. So that makes it a better experience as you move into the meeting, because you know why they're scheduling the meeting. They have a chance to ask any questions, so you can be better prepared when you walk into the meeting. So use them intelligently and effectively. And again, you have a better meeting then.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit book.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get a confirmation email shortly. But I have all this information. I actually get the ability to reschedule, cancel, or create a new one. So if I'm like, you know what, I probably need another one, I can actually do that and go back through the process.
Mm.
Let me see
All right.
if I got my confirmation yet. Usually comes, yep, so here you go. I got a meeting appointment that has the information that I could do, and I actually have a link to manage the booking there. I can, and there's no response required, so it's all on my calendar, and we're all good to go.
Right. So if Kendra wanted to change the meeting, she could, or if she wanted to cancel the meeting, she could. And on my end, let me go ahead and share my screen now. Hey, Jordan, good to see you.
How you doing?
Good. All right. So on my screen, in my email, I get, hey, I got a new booking from Kendra Corman. It's Thursday, September 30th, 10:30 to 10:45. So that's that 15-minute slot. And I could view in bookings, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then this is just some additional information related to it. If I go look at the 30th, there's the Kendra call, and it actually comes right after the weekly Kendra call that I have. So that's how it works. Now let's dive into how do I make this work.
Hey,
So
quick
yeah,
question,
go
and
ahead.
you might be answering this, so if you are, we can move on. But we did get a question. What if I only want to show my available time? So you can just show one person's, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Is that what you mean, Charles, or is it, feel free to clarify if there's something else?
Yeah, so my calendar has a lot of meetings with a lot of maybe competitors, right? So I only want to ever show in bookings the open slots in my schedule.
And
So
that's
that's
all it shows is open slots. It doesn't show any details about your existing appointments.
okay.
All it shows is um, a calendar with dates and then any of the times that you're free. It doesn't
Okay.
provide any detail about what's actually going on in any of your meetings. And as I mentioned earlier, I schedule Friday as no meetings. So my Friday never shows up when somebody tries to book a meeting with me. And there's nothing on my Friday, right? It's
Okay.
because I spend the morning working on where the business is going, and I spend the afternoon catching up on the things from the week.
Okay. So it doesn't show blocks of time where I'm already booked inside the bookings. It'll just
No,
show only my
no,
availability.
it only shows the available slots. Yeah, your open slots.
Okay. I didn't see that in the demo, but okay. I was a little confused by that. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, good. So there's a couple of ways to access bookings. Frankly, if you want to get to anything inside of Microsoft 365, you can go to www.office.com, log in with your account, and then you can see everything that you have permission to use. So you can get to bookings that way. So you'd log in, you'd click on the All Apps button, which is near the bottom, and then you click Bookings. Or you can just go to outlook.office.com/bookings. You actually don't need settings and book page or booking page, but that works as well. And then there's about 5 different things that we need to look at to set up your booking. So it's not complicated. It just, takes a little thought to figure out how you want to manage your particular bookings calendar. So what I'm actually going to do is I have my TurtleWorks calendar, and you saw my services earlier. So those are the services that Kendra showed when she was booking. I'm going to create a new bookings calendar, and I'm going to create it from scratch, and we'll just give it, webinar 923. 2021. And this is a wizard that will walk you through. So you get to choose your business type. So if you're financial services or whatever, you might want to walk through this wizard and let it do its thing. I'm just gonna I was introduced this is the spouse install, where you just say yes, 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 yes. So you just accept all the defaults. I hope I don't get in trouble for that comment. um, so at this point, it's created this shell of a um, of a calendar, of a bookings calendar. So, like I mentioned, there's 5 things. There's staff, there's services, there's custom fields, and there's booking page, and finally there's business information. It'd be nice if they laid these things out in an order that you should attend to them, and it doesn't. So I'm gonna do my best to pick the right order. So business information is a good place to start. You can put your details in there, business name, phone number, website, those kind of things. You can add your logo here, and then your business hours may or may not be important for your bookings calendar. Like I have business hours, basically 9 to 6 is when you can get a hold of me. Um, but because of the way I set up my bookings calendar, it, the, there's never a day that's open from 9 to 6. But you can set up your bookings calendar, your business calendar here, and it can be used by default, or you can set up custom personal calendars as you get into scheduling. So we've got the business information taken care of, and then we can look at staff. And right now there's just me, and I'm going to add, let's see if I can add this fella. Nope. All right, I've got to add Susie. All right, so there's Susie, And let me see if there's anything we need to pay attention to with Susie. So we can give Susie a phone number. And we could add information there, notify the staff. And here's where Susie gets to schedule her availability. So right now it's using the business hours, 8 to 5. I'm going to tick that off and say, you know what, Susie's got no meeting Fridays just like me. She doesn't need to, she needs some time to work on her own stuff as well. And Monday morning, she's always busy, so she can't take meetings until 1 in the afternoon, 1 to 5. Her Tuesday's good from 8 to 5. Wednesday, she's only good till 3, so 8 to 3. Thursdays, 8 to 5 as well. And we'll go ahead and save that. So now we know Bookings knows when Susie is available for meetings. There's some other things in here that we could get into, but you know, there's multiple ways. So services, one of the things we'll get into next, and we could schedule what or assign services through this tab. I'm going to do it through the services tab alternately. The next thing to consider are what services do we want to configure? I'm going to configure 2. There's probably one already. Oh, okay. There aren't any services configured. So first, we're just going to schedule. We're an IT company, so we're going to schedule a 30-minute help desk call and call in with your issues and problems. All right. And the location, well, you could meet somewhere, but we're going to make this a Teams meeting. So I'm just adding an online Teams meeting. You can see that there's a duration of 30 minutes. And then we have this option here called buffer time. And what that means is Microsoft gives us the option to prevent people from scheduling our calendar full with back-to-back meetings. So you can put some buffer in front and at the end of a meeting. So if we're going into a half-hour call, I need like 5 minutes before that call to like go to the bathroom, get some water, stretch my legs because I just got off of a call. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to give myself 5 minutes before the meeting. There's no price set for this help desk call, so we won't set that. No notes required. One person attends, and I'm going to go ahead and save those changes. So now I have a service created, and we need to do a couple things to that service yet in order to finish it out. So let me continue editing it. And now, as far as availability options are concerned, when somebody goes to see your calendar, by default, in this case, it's showing increments that they can select within 15 minutes, but you could change that to a half an hour or whatever. And what staff is available to take care of these help desk calls. So I'm going to select, let me just for clarity's sake, I'm just going to select Susie on this one and not select myself. And then we have custom fields, but I haven't created any custom fields yet, but you can see customer email, that's got to be required. Their phone number is required. Their address isn't required. Their notes is required. Actually, we'll leave notes as optional because I'm going to put an additional question in there asking them what is it that they specifically have trouble with. And then finally, we have reminders and notifications. So by default, you saw the emails that occurred between Kendra and I when we scheduled a meeting. So that's what you get. That's what you get to configure here. So we notify the business via email when a booking is created or changed. That's notifying TurtleWorks or you. You send a meeting invite to the customer in addition to the confirmation email. You want to do that because you want that meeting to show up on their calendar. You don't just want to send them an email that says, hey, we've got a meeting scheduled. You want an appointment that they have to RSVP to also go their way. So that's what this checkbox is about. We could send text messages to the customer by enabling this checkbox. And then if there was additional stuff that we wanted to put in the email confirmation, we could put it here, you know, looking forward to helping you. And if there were other email reminders or text reminders that you wanted to send for some reason, like the day before, like my dentist sends me, I think 2 text messages before I actually have the appointment. So like a week in advance, your appointment's coming, and then the day before. So you can configure those same things here. You know, a 1-week reminder, a 30-minute reminder, a 1-day reminder. So you've got some options. And who do you send that reminder to? Customer, staff, or everyone? And then here's some additional text that you could send. And then here's the 1 day before reminder. So automatically Bookings creates that day before reminder. But if you wanted to put an additional reminder in there, you could. So I'm going to discard that part of it, but I'm going to save everything else. And I mentioned I wanted to prompt the customer for what it is that they need to meet with me about. So let's add a custom question or a custom field. So it's going to be a text question, but I could also have a drop-down question. Everybody wants to text and call me while I'm doing a webinar. So text question, please describe in we'll say detail what the issue is so we can be properly prepared. And I'll save that change. So now I've created this custom question. If I go back to this 30-minute help desk call and I edit that service, go back to custom fields, and now that custom field I created is here. I'm going to select it. And this one is required because if we're meeting to deal with a problem that you're having technically, you're going to be able to describe it. And if you can describe it, then I can come in better equipped. So save those changes. And at this point, we're about done. The only thing left is to add another service. If I wanted to, I could go and create an hour-long meeting that's in person, where the location is not a Teams meeting, but it's, at some Panera Bread or Partner House or whatever. So we could create more services. I'm not going to do that for just the sake of brevity. And finally, we have the bookings page itself. So here's the link. This is the key that you give to folks so they can schedule on your calendar. So at this point, if I copy this link and I jump over to, we'll go to Firefox. Firefox knows, oh, I know where I'll go. I'll jump over to here and throw that link in. We should see, yep, 30-minute help desk call, and it can be scheduled with Susie. And these are Susie's available days and times. And fill in all that information, plus please describe in detail what the issue is so we can be properly prepared. That's it for setting up your bookings. There's nothing more that you need to do other than those steps that I showed you. Get to this bookings page so that you have the link. There's some other things you can control here, but for the most part, I've just accepted the defaults. I really haven't fiddled with these because I haven't had to. And now you can put this in your signature. So if I've copied that link and I were to go into my email and go into my email settings and Outlook, compose and reply, I could come down here, and say book time on my calendar. Come over here, paste this bad boy in, click OK. And now if I were to save that and create a new message, now that's sitting there in my signature. So if I send somebody an email, they'll get an email, they can click on that link, and there it is. Let me see if there's anything else we need to
Joe,
talk
just
to
a
about
quick
bookings.
question.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, let's pretend that I am not the admin of my Microsoft 365. Does the admin or the organization itself have to approve my ability to use the booking tool, or is that something I can enable as a user?
So by default, I believe you have access to bookings. However, your admin can turn that off, and then you don't have access to bookings, and you would have to request access. So it's going to be a case-by-case basis, but I'm pretty certain by default it's turned on. There's nothing that you have to do to get it.
Okay.
But Microsoft has given toggles on a whole lot of their services because every organization is different, and they want to be able to control various aspects of Microsoft 365 and what the users can do. So there's a pretty rich set of toggles. So it could be that it's turned off. It could be that it's turned on. I would give it a try. If it doesn't work, then ask for somebody to turn it on. All right. Let me see if there's anything else. Okay. And we went through the whole using. All right. So that was bookings. And bookings is really good if you need to let one person schedule some time on your calendar. FindTime is an add-in for Outlook that lets you make it really easy for multiple people to reach an agreement on when they can meet. Basically, we're looking for an intersection across all your calendars so that you can meet successfully. So as we say here, it allows you to schedule meetings with multiple people outside your organization. I say outside because typically if you're inside, you can see everyone else's calendar, and it's a lot easier to schedule without the aid of extra tools. It fixes the problem that you can't see their calendar.
So
Or
can
yeah.
I just wanted to add one quick thing. So Joe taught me about FindTime, and I sort of have to give a little testimonial to it because I used it for setting up a meeting with like 7 people. Well, it found the most opportune time with the majority of people and automatically sent the invitation. Like it was just like magic. And the people I was inviting to work on the meeting for were actually really impressed with how well it worked. Because I've used, and I know a lot of nonprofits I work with have used Doodle Poll in the past, but it's nowhere near as seamless or as cool as FindTime.
There you go. Honestly, it's one email to schedule a meeting with 7 people or 10 people or however many it is. It really is. So FindTime lets you pick a list of your available time slots, and then those go into the poll, if you will, or the survey, and then you share that survey with them. They choose all the slots that work for them, and they can choose some as preferred. Uh, they can say, I can't make some. So they get 3 options: preferred, yes, and no. You select the length of the meeting and the type of meeting. And then if somebody looks at the survey and say, none of these work for me, they actually have the option to add additional time slots. And then those get pushed out to everyone and they can vote on those. When everyone's voted and there's a slot that everyone's agreed on, FindTime, as Kendra mentioned, automatically schedules the meeting. So it's one email and you're done. So this time we're going to do a demo with Kendra and Jamie. And the way we're going to do this is I'm going to do a FindTime and send it to both of them. Kendra's going to make some choices. When she's done, I'm going to have Jamie share her screen, and you're going to see how she can see the choices that Kendra's made. as well as she can then make her own choices. She's going to make her choices, and then we should get an email coming back to me saying it was successful, and meeting invitation appears on our calendar. So let's go ahead and do FindTime. So first we have to go Jamie, Chair Sales Energy, and Kendra, HTH Consulting. Let's meet. Oops. Oops. Okay, so I've already added the add-in to Outlook, and I'll show you how to do that after we finish the demo. So in my case, I use the browser version, or we call it Outlook web app. You have all the same features in the desktop version of Outlook. They're just in a different spot. The three dots that I click down here are actually up here somewhere for you. So it's not really too much different. So you'll see here's FindTime. So I'm going to click on that, and it brings up this pane on the side.
So while that's loading, does everybody that I need to vote from need to be in the to field? What if I have like a CC?
If you have a CC, they're considered optional.
Okay. And
So
so then
they
it
still
won't
get a
necessarily
chance to vote.
automatically.
Yeah, I'm not sure why this is not loading. Let's try again. So they get a chance to vote, but there we go. Okay. All right. So they get a chance to vote, but they're not required. So if everybody who's in the to field
Mhm.
votes, but the people in the CC field haven't voted, it schedules the meeting. So
Okay, thank you.
yeah. So we get this pane on the side, and the checkbox is on for work hours, and we get to choose the duration of the meeting. So I'm just going to leave it at 30 minutes Eastern time. And then we have this strip here that shows our calendar, and it gives us some help. So it shows the 24th is red. That means there's no time available for me to schedule meetings. There is some time on the 30th and on the 29th of next week. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick those. So we'll start on Wednesday, the 29th. You'll see that I only have 1:30 as an available time based on everything else that is scheduled on my calendar. So I'll select that. But it also shows me under other times, and you'll see that I'm red, meaning I'm busy. But if I wanted to schedule over something, I could. So it gives us that option to double book ourselves. And then on the 30th, I have a little more availability, so I'll select some choices there. And I really do work till 6 most days. Then we click next. And up at the top, it turns on Teams meeting automatically. But if I wanted to meet in person somewhere, I could certainly enter the location. We also have some options for the poll settings, like notify me about updates and schedule automatically when a consensus is reached, and some other options. I never fiddle with those. I just leave them the way they are, but you certainly can if there's a need to do that. And then these are the selected times. If you make more than 20 selections, it'll warn you that the more selections you make, the harder it is for you to reach consensus. So I'm going to go ahead and click add to email and close that little pane. And now you see this blue block here. You're invited to a meeting, and there's 8 options selected. I will go ahead and send this. Let's make sure we got Jamie and Kendra. So Jamie, please work on sharing your screen, but don't choose anything in the email. And Kendra, would you go ahead and make some choices?
As soon as the Wonka vision works and comes across, I will do it.
The
There it
Wonka.
is. That's what I call it. It's like little particles from one computer to the other.
Gotcha.
Okay, it came through, so I'm voting now. I'm just going to say.
And did we lose Jamie? Can't really do this without Jamie. Where did she go?
No, I don't know.
We lost Jamie. That's not good.
Maybe she lost power.
I don't know.
Does FindTime work across time zones, Joe?
It does. Yes, it does. And you'll notice when I initially made the choices, it gave me the option to choose what time zone I was working in. Well, this is a problem. I don't know where Jamie went. So
I can share my screen really quick and show. I mean, it won't show what they've done yet, so hopefully
yeah,
she will. But I can show a little bit with the options that I get.
let me.
So I can show. So I get the choices of prefer, yes or no. So I can say no, I can't meet these, and it'll actually check my Outlook calendar. And because I also have Outlook, it'll let me know when I'm free and when I'm not, so that I can say no when I'm busy. Yes, if I'm willing to schedule over something, things like that. So.
All right, I'm just texting Jamie to see if we get an explanation. She's
Yeah, I
gonna
don't know
come
where she
back.
went.
So if we don't do that, I know what I'll do. I'll just do this again, and Kendra and this guy here. And we'll just jump in here. Find time. 30 minutes next week. 1:30. All right. Go ahead and make some choices. And I sent that to my Gmail, one of my Gmail accounts. So we should be able to see that come through.
I
So let
got
me
it
know.
voting.
Okay. Hi, Mark.
Done.
All right. So this is my Gmail account. I'm going to click Let's Meet, and we see we've got 5 options. I go ahead and click those options.
Can you share your
And
screen, Joe?
oh, yeah, I probably should do that.
Sorry.
And I'm notorious for. Okay. So here was the email I received. I clicked the 5 options link here. And then this pops up. And I'm going to continue as this email account here. And we can see now that here's the Kendra column. And she said no to 1:30 on Wednesday. She said no to 9 o'clock on Thursday. She really likes noon on Thursday, but she can also do 9:30 and 12. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes to these. And actually, I'm going to say no to that. I'm going to go ahead and vote. And there's my email. It says, hi, congratulations. And wait for it when I click. See the little pixie dust? Ooh. Anyway, your polls reached consensus. FindTime scheduled your meeting based on poll results. A meeting invite has been sent to all attendees. So that was for Thursday the 30th at noon. So if I jump over to the 30th at noon, there's Let's Meet. So successfully did all of that, that work that we needed it to do. So
One of the other
one
neat things,
email, and it took care of everything. Go ahead, Kendra.
one of the other neat things it'll do is it'll actually block off the times that I offered on my calendar too. So that's just a really cool feature that I think helps a lot of people.
That
So I don't offer it to 7 people.
Okay. All right, so let's see. We've gotten through the demo. Let me get that out of the way. So how do you set up FindTime? It's not hard. Basically, you just got to get the add-in. And there's two ways to do that depending on whether you're using Outlook in the browser or Outlook in the desktop app. But in either case, you're looking for add-ins. So in the browser, down at the bottom, there's these three dots are called ellipses. You click on those and you'll see get add-ins. You select that and then it'll give you a wizard to look up add-ins. If you're in the desktop application, there's this red-ish button at the top. And if you click on it says it's browse add-ins. So you either click one of those depending on which version of Outlook you're in. And then if you're in the browser, you get this kind of experience, which is very similar to the desktop application. You just go search for FindTime in this field. In either case, it finds it, you select it, and you click on add. If you're in the browser, you've got one additional window where you click continue and then it do what you need to do. And then at that point, you have FindTime installed as an add-in for email. And you saw how I got to it in the browser. It's down at the bottom. I click on those ellipses and I get FindTime there. And if you're in Outlook, you click on the ellipses at the top and you'll see FindTime there. So that's really it for setting up FindTime. There's not a lot of configuration, if you will, compared to bookings. Bookings, we have to configure staff and services and custom fields and those kind of things. But again, it's not super hard to set up either one. And then finally, we have Microsoft Scheduler. So I'm kind of excited about this product because it takes this whole thing to a new level. So if you don't have time to even use bookings or FindTime, you can use natural language in your emails to schedule meetings. So you can type things like, Cortana, help us find a time next week for a Teams call. And Cortana will use artificial intelligence and basically work through the bookings and FindTime experience on its own, her own. I'm not sure. It's hard. It's not really real, but to send an email to the participants with a list of time slots, and it allows people to choose what's needed. So if AI is unable, Cortana is unable to understand what's needed, it will ask you for clarification. So Cortana may send an email back saying, "Can you be more clear on what time period you want me to schedule the meeting for, or which time zone, or those kind of questions." And if Cortana is still unable to figure out what it is that you need after you've gone back and forth with Cortana, then Microsoft has people in the background that will step in to handle the scheduling of the meeting. So we've got these automated tools, we put some artificial intelligence on top of it, and then we have some people on top of that. So there is a cost, it's $10 a month. In some ways, it's $10 a month for a virtual assistant, which is pretty darn cheap. There is also additional setup. So this is not something you could do on your own. You would have to talk with your Microsoft 365 administrator and get them to do some additional work to set it up. Now, like most products that Microsoft puts out, they tell us about it, they demonstrate it, and then you go to try to use it and it doesn't work so well. So at this point, I have been on the phone with Microsoft support for 4 weeks and we still do not have it working in my tenant. So I would give it 6 months to cook, and then you can put your fork in it and it'll be ready to use. But know that it's coming, and 6 months will be here pretty quick. Let me take you to this link because I think there's some interesting things here, that I wanted to point out. So here's some examples of, hi, Henry, I'm helping Robin schedule a 30-minute meeting. Here's some times Robin is available. thanks Cortana, this time works for you. So Cortana actually put this together and looked at Robin's calendar, came up with some availability, and then Henry replies back, and then Cortana schedules the meeting. So that's pretty darn slick. So this is basically FindTime, but Cortana's doing the work. You can use Cortana from any device. And let me see if there was something I wanted to get into here. This was worth reading. It talks more about how it understands natural language and what your options are, how it works together with Cortana and Scheduler, and some other things. So useful read. Unfortunately, I cannot demonstrate it because it's not working yet in my tenant. What I did find interesting was some of the options that you can do when it is working. So, the easy thing is Cortana, please find a time to meet next week. And the way this works is, so in this case, this would be Kendra and Jamie, whatever. That's one of the recipients, but the other recipient always has to be Cortana. So that's how Cortana, the artificial intelligence, gets pulled into the loop, is by making Cortana one of the recipients. So the second one here is kind of fascinating.
Joe.
Please go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, what if like somebody replies and they don't have Cortana? Can you add her back, or do you not know yet?
So the only person who needs Cortana is the one initiating the meeting. So if the people you're asking to meet with, they could be using Gmail. They could be using Yahoo Mail. They could be using whatever. They don't need to be Microsoft customers. They don't need to have Cortana configured. It's only the person initiating the meeting that has to have Microsoft 365 and have Cortana configured. So here's another example where you can get very specific. So Cortana, please find us 45 minutes in the last week of the month in the morning for Pacific time and make it a Teams meeting. So that's pretty impressive. So we need to circle back in 6 months and show it actually working. It's just, it apparently isn't fully cooked yet. Let me see what's next on the agenda here. So from a resources perspective, I've included some links here. You'll all get a copy of this presentation, so you'll be able to go to the slides and do your own pursuit of knowledge, if you will. And
then I think I have one more question, Joe. Yeah. Is there a limit to how many people you can have in FindTime?
My short answer is yeah, but it's probably like 300 or some crazy number like that.
Okay.
Something most humans would.
Use.
Most yes, unless you're scheduling a convention, I don't think it's really an issue. Yeah. So as far as next steps are concerned, use the resources on the previous slide to basically go do some of your own work to really bring this into your day-to-day habits, because that's what it takes, right? You're going to have to sit down and spend 15 minutes figuring out how to use FindTime. And find somebody you want to schedule a meeting with that won't laugh at you if you make a mess of it. And get familiar with FindTime, and then go ahead and configure bookings. Figure out well, half-hour meeting and an hour meeting. Let's just do those and see how it works. And then sit down and maybe you've got 4 different kind of services that you need to create. But again, you've got to take some time to work with it, get familiar with it, try it out with somebody who's not going to laugh at you, and get comfortable. And at that point, you're ready to roll, and you're ready to save an hour a week. If you do meetings like I do, you're going to save yourself an hour a week. A couple other things that we can do. So here's a link to my calendar. So if you want to have a conversation with me, just book a 15-minute call and have a conversation, see if you've got a question about any of this and I can help you out. Go ahead and do that. If there's some other thoughts, related to what it is that TurtleWorks does, then, we can talk about that as well. But I certainly don't mind taking 15 minutes and helping you figure out how to use one of these products. I enjoy teaching. And before this slide deck goes out, there'll be a link for Hayden as well. So you can follow through and click on that link and schedule some time with them. And let's see. Now, did Jamie make it back?
No, sir.
I know that she was dealing with the flu. So maybe the flu got the best of her.
You might have lost power or internet too. So
yeah, that's very possible. I don't know. So I'll spend a minute or two on Hayden Technology. So Hayden Technology is a managed service provider. What that means is they provide your IT infrastructure. So if you need computers, you need networking, you need phone systems, you need an internet connection, you need your email set up, you want to buy Microsoft 365, Hayden Technology is the company to talk to. So I've been working with Hayden Tech for a while now. We've been partnering in several of these webinars. Good folks, good people. And at this point, I'm also working with some of their customers, and they've got a good customer base. So I strongly recommend Hayden Tech. Let me see what else we got. And then finally, from an ask perspective, I would certainly love you to like and share my LinkedIn page, and Hayden would certainly love you to do that as well. There will be, the PowerPoint and whatnot that goes out, the email that follows. Kendra, is there something that would be useful for them to share with other people that will be going out after this webinar?
Yep, we'll have a link to our productive meetings blog post that talks all about the different tools that can help make virtual and hybrid meetings more productive. So we'll have that included in the email also. And if you want to share that or use that, you'll be able to do that.
Okay.
And we'll have more webinars coming on those topics coming up soon.
Mm-hmm. Basically doing a webinar quarter. I guess I neglected to mention we're doing a series related to meetings. So this is the first meeting or the first webinar related to meetings, and it's scheduling your meetings. The next one will be using the tools within Microsoft 365 to actually hold a meeting. And then the final one will be about the follow-up and the content, the artifacts that come out of a meeting, and how to manage those and access those and use those. So yeah, so the next webinar we have will be about meetings, but it will be about actually holding meetings and using tools like Whiteboard and Teams and some of the other rich features that are available to us that, again, people don't know about because they're just not aware. They're just not aware. There's so much in Microsoft 365 that you need somebody to help sort of introduce you to it. So as far as how to contact us, you can certainly email me or call me. Our website link is there. And again, my LinkedIn page is there. And then similar for Hayden Technologies, and 2 phone numbers you could call, or their hyperlink to their website and their LinkedIn page. And now we're in the Q&A section.
Yeah, if anybody else has any other questions, please feel free to type those in, or you can circle back with Joe, because I know that we went a little bit over our time so far.
Ooh,
so
it's 3:01.
Yeah, it goes fast, doesn't it? Time flies when you're having fun. So if you need anything else, please feel free to reach out to Joe. Again, the contact information will be available in the reply email that we send.
All right. And thank you, Kendra, and thanks, Jamie.
Thanks. Bye.
All righty. Bye now.